All right. This is Shawn Michael Walker with Insurance You Indemnify Me podcast. And we today have Brian and Matt, right?
Shawn Michael Walker. I'm gonna start using my middle name.
Yeah, go all the way through.
He introduced himself. I said Matthew James Hahn.
Matthew James Hahn.
Brian
That's right.
Daniel Blair.
Yeah, and then his very next comment was, "Wow, you do have really dry hands." And it's like,
I was nice about it. I was nice about it.
You do have a fake head of hair.
That's true. It's not real. It is a wig. So most people think it's real. It's just really good. It's a good hairpiece.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it off at supper tonight.
A good head of hair.
A good tug.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll give you a good tug on the beard.
Something to brag about, though.
Yeah,
good head of hair.
My wife the other day was like, "Do you ever find yourself prideful about your head of hair?" And I'm like, what? No, not at all. Are you kidding me? And
it's really good.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
I've never had to worry about any of these things.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a beard. I don't have an 8-inch beard, 9-inch beard hanging off my face. So let's start there. How long have you been a beard man?
So,
because I see pictures on Facebook where you're not a bearded man.
I wasn't until
you looked like a little boy.
I did look like a little boy.
You look crazy.
I met Mike and Taylor, and Mike used to have a larger beard than what he has now, and Taylor still has his. So I was the guy getting all the grief.
Yeah, for
like,
too short.
2 beards and a baby.
So like me, like, 5 weeks ago.
2 beards and a baby was a LLC name that we discussed.
That's actually great. I like that
it's
name.
horrible. So I'm like, you know what? I'm growing a beard. And this was probably 5 years ago.
Okay.
So this is literally my first beard.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. I'm 5 years into growing this thing.
Bic has lost a lot of revenue because I stopped buying razors.
And I think I've seen on Facebook somewhere your wife is not opposed to it. So.
You know, she.
Or is she like, hey, I'm getting sick of it?
At first, she's like, it doesn't look like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then it was like a switch. She's like, don't shave. Okay. So I think because it covers up my looks.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the fact that you used Bic. Like, I mean,
never been an electric razor. No.
Nothing. Like, not like 5 blades.
Yeah.
Like you were going like the 2-blade
I like
disposable.
I like
or Harry's, I think.
I like expensive bourbon. I don't care about
my razor blades.
Don't care, man.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I think in the past, in these podcasts, we go like an hour and a half. So, and then we mine out all the gold. We put together like a 30-minute something where the gold is all mined out. If people want to listen to the whole banter for the whole hour and a half, awesome. If they don't, awesome. But sometimes I think I'm a little bit guilty of doing the whole, who the heck are you guys, for way too long. And then people are like signing off 25, 30, like 40 minminutes into it. They're going, I haven't gotten anywhere into any insurance content yet.
We're not that interesting.
So they're really bailing super, 40 minutes in, they're like, all I'm hearing is 3 people fooling around. I want to get to something meaty immediately. Yeah. So let's get to something meaty immediately. How did you guys become tech guys? I mean, we should also preface this. You're both captive insurance agents. I've never done a podcast yet with just strictly captive agents. It's either been independent insurance agents or independent insurance company leadership.
Right.
And so that's kind of the audience of the podcast. So you guys, this will be a very interesting interview in that,
Good job.
in that I have no idea where this is going to go. I'm going to play very nice. I'm not going to be like, independent's the best. But in fact, I want to hear why captive's so flipping amazing.
That's what you're going to go with. That's what we're going with.
Well, this can go anywhere you want it to go. But let's start out. How did you guys become tech guys? Because you guys have Agency Elephant as well. You guys are 2 farmers agents, but you have Agency Elephant as well. So how did you guys find yourself in that world or going into that world?
So Matt's 10 years younger than me.
Talk close to the mic too.
Matt is 10 years younger than me, and I think that
he often refers to me as the younger brother he never wanted to have.
Yeah, good.
So Matt's like, I think I'm 40, you're 31.
I'm 32 this year, but
okay.
I'm not 32 yet.
And I think when we met, he was on a demo for Agency Elephant, and we had to reschedule a couple times because his wife was in the hospital having his twins, twins.
Yeah.
And so when we did get on the call, and I showed him everything, it was one of those like, well, here's my credit card number. Let's do this type of guys. Yeah. So I knew he understood what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I would say within the first 30 days, he was, hey, check this out. Did you know that we could do this?
Yeah.
Hey, look at this. Hey, check this out. And then it turned into, hey, why don't you hop on board the team? Because you're pretty bright at this.
You're figuring out how to use this tool in ways I'm not even thinking yet.
And that's something that we kind of do regularly. The problem, and an insurance agent will give us their problem, and his solution and my solution, the steps to get to the desired outcome, are usually different.
Mine's always right, though.
No, but they're just different, and I think that's kind of nice for our clients to say, like, okay, like, I like pieces of his idea and his way, but I like the finish of yours or whatever that is, and kind of marry them together. But
give me an example of that. What would be an example of somebody saying, here's my problem, how's Agency Elephant going to fix that problem? And then you guys both have different ideas of resolving that problem.
So we'll have, like, let's call it renewals. Every agent has a really brutal time handling renewals. They don't do it consistently. They don't do it effectively. It's not delivered in the same way every time, and so they can't measure it. The process is different all the time. And if you're not doing something, that's measurable, are you even doing something worthwhile? And so the biggest problem that we see it comes with renewals, because when you look at, like, a customer standpoint or from an agent standpoint, you're like, hey, bringing on a new customer is 5 times more expensive than retaining a current customer. You already did the work. That's what we're in the business for.
Don't lose that person.
It's way less work and it's way less money to keep business on the books. There's things obviously you can't control, rate, all those things, being captive. That's fun. Can't control that. We'll get into that later.
We shall.
We will very deeply. But renewals is always a fun problem because we've hashed this out a lot, and that we've handled it a few different ways. Like, one of my favorite ways to do it is handling it based upon the renewal date. Like, hey, let's have a campaign that triggers 3-4 times prior to the renewal date that has these specific calls to action, which generate opportunity regardless of what it is. And we found some really, really banger ideas that we've generated for a lot of agents that are bringing them on, 5-10 life policies a month when they weren't writing 5-10 policies a year
because of the renewal process tweaks that you've
and so when we
they didn't have a process at all.
They didn't have a process. And then when we would come to the table, me and Brian are like, hey, how are we going to handle renewals? Like, well, are we going to have this on, like, a pipeline workflow that recycles itself?
Right.
Are we going to have this on an X date event reminder type deal? Are we going to have this on a drip that's manually triggered? Like, the first thing I did, which I look back at it as being probably the wrong thing to do, but it was from an automation, like, nerd. Like, I wouldn't qualify myself as a nerd, but like, the way I think is,
I don't know.
more
I've known you
involved.
for about 2 hours now. I might throw you in that bucket.
Okay,
No,
I'm pretty sure. Shut this down. We'll shut this down.
over. Okay.
I'm like, I'm out of here.
I'm just kidding.
What I did, I was like, hey, I'm going to create a Slack channel so that every time that I see a renewal process, I'm just going to type the customer's name in and hit enter.
Yeah.
And it's going to fire off all of my renewal stuff to my system through, Zapier integrations and all sorts of other things, to my book of business, to sending it to Agency Elephant. And it was like, I could get in there and process 120 renewals and have automations triggering to all those people, having activity and conversations really quickly.
Yeah.
And it was really badass. But the problem was, you try to teach
one more swear word
agent,
and I'll shut it down. No, I'm just kidding.
You try to teach an agent how to do that and how to build that, and the agent,
no idea.
Not only do they not have any idea, they don't have time.
Right. They have no idea.
They're
and they
servicing,
have no time.
they're managing their staff. They're trying to do production issues. They're trying to hit bonus.
Yeah.
They don't have time to spend building.
Yeah. They're going Slack,
Yes,
Zapier.
exactly.
What did you just say? I have no idea what you're talking about.
So then we had to come to, and then it's like, oh, well, if we're going to use a date-based campaign, we've got to be very cognitive of the dates in the system. And like,
your information has to be surgical when you put it in, because if you fat finger something, you're going to look like a fool.
And that's what we do all day, is simplifying the processes and simplifying the system, which is one of the reasons why Brian, Mike, and Taylor moved from touch points, was so that they could have ownership and control of moving the platform the way they wanted. And then when I came into the system, I was just a regular agent that had too much service work, and I needed a system to help me.
Yeah.
And I started
on the point of hiring
I was on the point of hiring someone, and I didn't have the funds to hire people because it was like, hey, my agency generates me X. I can't afford with 5 kids to take a $30,000 step back.
5 kids.
Yeah.
5 kids under 7. At one point, 5 and under. That's fun.
That's disgusting.
It's irresponsible. That's literally, if you look at like the story
that's
of my
5
agency,
kids who you're like, when you throw up, hit the toilet, and then you got 5 kids who are like, what? I don't know. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah, but me and Brian, when we sit down and we go through, agency stuff, automation stuff, and like with Agency Elephant, but even outside of it, when we attack a problem, I mean, we talk all day long about problems and stuff that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And we both go down different rabbit trails, but the reason why we work so well together is our end solution is marrying both of our really good ideas into something that's actually actionable by the agent that doesn't have time to do it.
Right. And I think we work well together because we'll both call each other out too. Like he'll be going down this path and I'll go, that's stupid. Step 1 through 7 sounds really good, but by the time you get to 12, it's going to be, it breaks. So.
And you shouldn't have 12 steps.
And you shouldn't have 12
that's
steps.
a good point.
Like, let's boil this down before, you know?
Right.
So that's what we do a lot is boil stuff down and tweak it. And, but it all comes back to having that agency playbook, you know, and agents, what we run into is agents that they have a problem, and then they have their results. But, you know, last month they followed up on every single quote with every single client completely different.
Yeah. Right.
Because of how busy they were, or what fires they're putting out on their, you know,
or one staff member does it one way and the other staff member does it another way. Yeah.
And so when you have that, you know, it's the difference of going into the Super Bowl like, all right, guys, go out there and just try hard.
Yeah. Go have fun.
Yeah, go have fun.
Everybody's a winner.
You guys can do this. To, hey, this is the play. It's boiled down. We've tweaked it for the last 18, 19 weeks. Like, this is the play to run on 3rd and long.
So how many agents do you talk to where you go, okay, so Agency Elephant helps you with your agency's processes, and they go, hey, can we hit pause on the recorder? I don't have a single process in my agency. What % of agencies do you run into where you're like, all day long, every day?
Most. I mean, I was like that when I started my agency.
I don't blame agents for that. But,
when I started my agency.
We all talk about how important process is, and most agents are going, I don't have that.
Yeah. And when I started my agency, my mentor in the business, he always told me you have to have processes. I'm like, what does that mean? Do I have like a file cabinet?
He had
like,
no idea.
There like, what the heck is a process?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, it's really simple. If A and B happen, C and D happen.
C and D,
Like, it's really simple. Having, and so everybody comes to us with a different problem, whether it's, I need more prospects to talk to. Right. I need to service my book better or differently.
Yeah. I have to touch my people without having to touch them.
I have a problem with attrition.
That's something that I really don't like is, and I tell people that when we're on those calls with agents, like, how do you measure doing things better? Like, what's the benchmark for better? Yeah. What's do more mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that if you're doing things 100% consistent. You can go, okay, I'm going to do this for 30, 60, 90 days this way every single time. And if I don't get the desired result that I want, I tweak the process and do it for another 30, 60, 90 days until the result is where I want it. And like, that's the approach that we try to take with stuff, you know? Yeah. So, but no, my background was with AT&T. I worked at AT&T prior to insurance, and I was a corporate store manager, and I was just tired of starting every single month on the 1st at 0. Yeah. You know, the residual income side was
I still
good.
laugh that you worked at AT&T.
I had no beard.
Yeah.
You were clean.
Dressed, looked sharp, looked like him.
Oh, no.
I did.
I can't imagine Brian Blair with a tie on.
I'll show you some pictures tonight.
I was very in a suit coat on.
I wouldn't say I was pretty, but I was borderline pretty.
I thought I saw a picture of you on Facebook just a couple weeks ago where you had a suit coat on.
Probably.
Oh, you were at a wedding.
Yeah, I'm an ordained minister.
What is that all about?
You want to renew your vows or what?
No, I don't.
Here.
It's been
We
18
are renewing.
years.
Me and my wife are renewing our vows this summer, and I am stressed because she wants me to write all of the write vows this time, and previously we didn't.
We can't automate that.
We do have Jarvis that can do it for us, and we've looked into it, writing the vows, because I'm like, what do I say?
What is the most cliche vow you've heard as a?
It's not you, it's me. Oh wait, wrong vow, wrong way.
I love you, honey. It's not you, it's me. Yeah. What's the most cliche vow you've heard repeated over and over and over? Where you're like, good heavens, people.
So what I've found, and I've only done a handful of weddings.
And they're all close friends, so now you're going to get in trouble.
He's not marketing himself. He's not like, call me, we'll book your wedding.
No, if you're
Let's
getting
have
married,
a conversation about
else.
Agency Elephant, and then we'll talk about your wedding.
My sister-in-law, my wife's sister got married, and so I own...
They're never going to talk to you again. If you tell me that they're going to have a cliche wedding vow.
They're not in insurance, they probably won't hear this.
That's a good point.
I make them say live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh,
That's
love.
Cliche. No, I don't say that. My sister-in-law calls me out of the blue one day, and she says, how would you like more responsibility during the wedding? Well, I own a DJ company, or used to. And I said, your band.
Done a lot of
I said, your band canceled and you need me to DJ, don't you? And she goes,
yes.
No, I want you to officiate. And I went, So I went online, got ordained in like 15 minutes, printed off my fancy certificate.
Right.
You went full Joey Tribbiani.
So I get to the wedding in my wife and her sister's hometown, and it is the entire town, which sounds big.
Yeah.
It's about 400 people, 350 people.
Yeah.
So I do this wedding, and everyone's like, you knocked that out of the park. Well, then you have engaged couples at
saying,
the wedding.
Hey, will you do mine too?
And then this whole thing just snowballed.
Yeah.
So it was never never wanted that to take off.
I officiated my twin sister's wedding.
How'd you do?
Mexico. I did great.
It was in Mexico.
Well,
how could it go bad?
It went so good. I think I started out something along the lines of something like this. Tonight we're going to partake in a lot of libations, and we're here for a celebration. And there were a bunch of other IONs, like TIONs.
Did you
know?
rap it?
And
Did you
then,
freestyle it?
No, but then at the end I said, and if we're all lucky, it might turn into a bunch of gyrations too, or something like that. And the whole audience just like blew up laughing. And I was like, I'm going to own this from here on out.
You'll have to send me your script. I'll add it into the repertoire.
Yeah. So
my background, I started out, I used to work at a call center.
How long have you guys been farmers agents?
8.
7 years.
7. So it's pretty tight.
Yeah. So I started out working at a call center doing underground line locates for construction, and family friend introduced me to insurance, and then I started with the scratch program with farmers, which is.
Had you ever heard of independence before that? Or
No,
like,
never even heard of. Never even
farmers,
thought of going into insurance. But I was like, hey, you got a good life, you got a good family, you got a good work-life balance.
I've now got 5 kids.
Yeah, you've got. I mean, I had 1 at the time.
Yeah,
and
I was joking.
No, I know. Yeah. It's a sore subject. It's a sore subject.
My children are a sore subject.
It's a sore subject. So
she's going to be listening to this one. What?
No, she's
Which one is the sore subject?
When you post this, I'm tagging her.
Yeah.
She's a saint for staying home with the kids all the time while I go on work trips.
Okay.
Yep.
So when I was with that company, I was making $2,200 a month. It wasn't sustainable for a lifestyle. And so the farmer's model, I was like, you know what? I am going to quit my job with no guarantee that this, like, I'm even going to make the programs. I got to sell enough to make it.
Right.
Which, when I look at
what is
my
it, 40
entire,
and 40 or something?
You've got to do 40 and 4 to get on the contract, which isn't much now, but as a new agent that had nobody to talk to, that is daunting. That is daunting. And so quit my job. We moved in with my in-laws for 3 months, or for a month and a half. And I told my wife, Thanksgiving Day, I'll have you back in the house.
We'll get out of here, I promise.
In a month and a half, give me a month and a half, I'll get you in a house. So I made the program.
She's like, good, because I hate my parents.
Thanksgiving. Oh, no, they're phenomenal
they're
people.
Too.
They're great people.
You do have to be careful.
They are really.
People will listen to this and you'll be like, I had no idea my in-laws were going to listen
like
to
yourself. So
local is a joke because it's actually national.
Mine was a diss. It was an accidental diss.
Well, see you guys have fun.
Man, this is falling apart.
Thanksgiving morning, I moved her into the house. We got on the program. Thanksgiving morning, we moved in. And
so you lied to her because you promised.
Yes.
Oh, no, you said Thanksgiving and it was Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving morning,
I was picturing Christmas morning. So.
Yeah, no, thank God I fulfilled that one. And then got on the farmers program, was doing it, and then came onto Agency Elephant as a user and built out the entire Built For You platform prior to being on payroll. And I remember our first call with Mike. We were just talking about this at the bar last night. My first call with Mike, when Brian was like, hey, we need to bring this guy in on some level. And it was a very small level at first. And Mike was like, well, I just don't understand why you would build this entire thing to give it to us essentially for free right now, because that's where we are right now. Essentially give it to us for free.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I know the problems that agents have, and I have the solution.
And I'm building it for myself anyway.
Yeah, why wouldn't I just give it out? And then that started me on the journey to being involved in Agency Elephant, and then eventually becoming one of the partners with Agency Elephant. But when I look at my history as a person, I realize that every decision that has turned out really, really well for me has stemmed entirely from massively irresponsible decisions. Because I had people in my life that were like, Matt, this is like your, like, this
You're
is
gonna
your
give them a
stuff.
ton of free stuff.
This is your stuff that's going to generate, you know,
a ton of income.
good business, like a good, healthy business. This is your property that you're giving. And I'm like, no, like, I get that it's my property, but these people need to have a system that they can get on and get ROI positive as quickly as possible.
That was a big problem.
Yeah.
You know, people saw value in what it could do.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the time or
the know-how
energy
to create.
It came down to like, cool, I get it, but what do I say?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what would you say if it was day 12 following up on a quote manually? Like, what would you type in if you were checking in on something? Like, so
what would you text somebody?
Right.
Hey, Jim, have you looked at the quote?
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's one of the biggest problems with automation is the concept of like, well, automation's a robot. Like, I don't like, it's a robot. It doesn't work. Like, it's AI.
Yeah, but it's a robot written by you.
Yes, but it's like, no. These are planned outbound text messages that you've pre-planned.
Right,
this is you.
It sounds personal.
This is you. This
Hey,
is
Jim,
not.
I sent you a quote. Why haven't you gotten back to me?
Yes.
I saved you a lot of money.
Hey, contact 132. This is Matthew Hahn at 2351.
It's not the text that comes from United that says, we're now boarding your flight.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right,
that
right.
has no emotion
It's
or
something
no
that is,
feeling.
it may be coming from a robot, but it's written by a human.
Yeah, and that's the biggest deal that I always run into with people is it's like, well, one, I don't know what to say. Two, it's an automated robot and it's not personal. And it's like, no, like it's not going to come out. Hey, this is Matthew James Hahn at 2351 Elkins Boulevard with Matthew Hahn Insurance Agency with Farmers Insurance, license number, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that. You could write it to be that if you wanted to.
But you can write it to say, hey, homie, I sent you a quote. Why aren't you getting back to me?
Yeah, what's good with that quote?
Yeah, you can put your own agency flair and culture into it, which is what you want. You know?
Good 8 years, good 7 years at Farmers?
Yeah,
I mean, are you looking back on, it's been an awesome run.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of landlocked. Like,
tell me about it. So let's pretend like, so I started in college as an independent insurance agent, and now it's been 18 years. And so I've never been on the captive side. I've had incredibly close friends of mine, like best friends of mine, who at the same time I was in college doing independent stuff, they were a captive Farmers agent or a captive Allstate agent.
Just drinking that Kool-Aid.
Well, maybe, I don't know. But like, help me undernd what.
Do you want to see what it's like being a Farmers agent?
I do. I want you to
pretend I'm a person.
Okay.
Selling.
We're pretending you're a person.
Yeah, well, let's role play.
Okay.
I'm a person selling beverages, and you're like, "Hey, man, I'm thirsty."
Okay.
Well, this is what I got.
You've got a little itty bitty can of water.
Do you want an 8-ounce water? And you're like,
no,
I
don't. I want a Diet Coke.
Yeah, well, it's that's it. That's all my options. I can only do that for you.
That is the negative of it.
Okay.
The positive of it, and we were talking about this earlier. Yeah. I feel very strongly that if somebody wants to get into insurance or break into the market, they should go down one of two paths. And one of those paths is not going to be an independent agent out the gates. I don't think
I agree with that, actually.
I
think everybody should do a stint as a captive agent.
Or something else. And like when I look at it,
claims
it's like
adjuster or whatever.
Yes, something. Like I feel that if somebody is going to get into insurance, from my own personal experience, captive gives you a very good foundation to have
I totally agree.
Success in the industry.
100%.
Or even better, if I had another chance, I would go down. If I had a second chance, I think I'd go down this route first. I would work for an independent insurance agency as a W-2 1099 employee, whatever that is, not 1099 employee, but I would work for them for 2-3 years and have a base salary that I could count on to get my bearings and get my feet on the ground, understand the industry, and then branch out.
Yeah.
Because going from captive, because we had this conversation earlier, if I were to eventually transfer from captive to independent, I will have to spend 9 hours in my agency every day
100%.
Just learning and working and building again. Now,
100%.
I spend less than 90 minutes a day in my agency right now.
Yeah.
And because of automation and the way I've set up with my expectations and processes, and I spend the other 8 hours on agency elephant business and helping users grow the platform.
Yep.
I can't at this point make that change because of the sacrifice of that.
Because of the learning curve that would be involved. Yeah.
But if I had started working for an independent carrier and got into it, maybe I'd be at the place where I am now and not have to make that big of a change.
Sure.
Yeah.
That is, I think captive gives you, depending upon what captive company you go with. I mean, I'm not here to tell anybody what carrier to go with because they all have their own problems. But
and they all have their own upsides too.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They're different compensation packages and all that kind of stuff.
And both of our farmers agencies are kind of against the grain on what they want from a farmer's agent.
Yeah, in what way? Like the bearded way?
The bearded way.
I just got in a fight way?
The bearded and tattooed way,
Right.
Okay. But more so like I don't have a storefront with an outdoor sign that has the big logo out front.
I don't even have a staff member.
Yeah, we're in a historical building.
No one sees
and so we can't have exterior signage on a historical building. So if you find my office, you either found us on Google or probably were referred to us. Right. You know, and it's kind of, I feel like
they would prefer you to be in a strip mall with a big farmer sign up.
Your agency should have at least 3 licensed staff and a front office personnel managing your business. His agency should have that because of the size of his business. Right. His agency doesn't need that.
But they can't dictate that, right? They don't
they can recommend it.
Yeah.
But his agency should, based upon policy count and based upon volume,
this is what we think you ought to be at.
Yes. But because of processes and automation, he doesn't need it. And, and for me, I should have at least a CSR and 1 producer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have any.
I mean, so right now, my office manager, her name's Ariel. She has 3 little kids. Mm-hmm. Her husband's active duty Air Force deployed. That Ariel, Who is it? Mike? I think Mike calls her the mermaid.
She does have red hair too.
She does. Well,
we have an Areli here, not Ariel, but everybody calls her Ariel.
She's wonderful. Yeah.
She's much better than you.
Karina's out on maternity.
She's much better.
I have Sue that does my commercial. She's just a commercial headhunter. But Ariel most times has to leave by 3:00 every day and go pick up kids at 3 different places.
Well, her husband's gone for 12 months. Like she has a life and a family and responsibilities, and you can't run your that is way more important than agency stuff.
Right.
And being able to have a process in place that when she is out of office, business doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. Everything that comes inbound goes to all their phones. Like Brian has never missed a kid's sporting event. He's got 3 that are all
until
in
today.
sports.
My son plays a basketball game today.
Sore subject.
Yeah, a little sore. And I'm here with Shawn. Yeah.
Well, you can tell him Shawn's missed every single one of his kids' sporting events in his entire life, and that's just part of business.
We just didn't want to be the, fluorescent, no offense to fluorescent lights. We didn't want that corporate, cubicle feel. And so
I love the brick and timber thing, but
we're in a historic building. It used to be a dairy creamery.
Yeah.
He's got an old safe in his office from the creamery.
It's a cool office. And we work on appointment only. We never miss a phone call. You call us. We have a virtual assistant that answers every call, asks questions, puts it in our service pipeline. We can see if we need to file a claim or we need to add a vehicle. We get notified when that happens. We take action. I think a lot of agencies kind of waste their time with sitting around kind of waiting for something to happen or waiting for the phone to ring and stuff like that. Well, we don't. We're busy. If Ariel needs to go and pick up a kid, go. Work's going to still happen. I'll see it and I'll take care of it, know. And we have a good set of referral partners that feed us. Mm-hmm. We work with a good amount of lenders in the area just because we don't wait 2, 3, 4 days to send a quote.
And being able to train on the fly too. I mean, Ariel's very, very good at what she does, probably better than us at what she does. Yeah. And being able to see as you're at your kids' basketball games or as you're at Kenny's, track and field stuff, or as you're, watching
gambling.
Yes. Yeah. Like as you're watching Emerson's softball game, you can see the conversations coming in. How is staff's responding and say, hey, next time this comes up, do this, pivot here.
Through the CRM?
Through the texting platform. Okay. Yes, through our Agency Elephant, where you could say, hey, next time this comes up, this is a pivot point to go to life insurance. Yeah. Or you need to hand this person off to me to handle life. Because Brian does exclusively life and commercial. Yeah. That is what he does. He doesn't deal with PNC. That is why Ariel is there. And so being able to manage while you're on the go, and especially during COVID, being able to have a process in place that we didn't miss a beat in our agencies. And we knew agents that I dealt with this brokerage on a policy change that was 9 months into COVID and they were still out of office, still didn't have their systems up, still weren't doing things for their customers. And I was like, guys, you have had this cancellation request for 9 months. This is not acceptable anymore. I get 9 days. in the middle of like early COVID.
At the most.
Get 9 days at the most, but like having a system that allows you the ability, like I was in Hawaii for a week and I don't have staff.
Right.
Nothing changed. My clients had no clue. Nothing changed. And so it's having the ability to create a business that allows you to create the life you want is invaluable.
And there's no DM coming by your location at 4 PM on Friday going, hey, why weren't you at your office?
Yeah, you're supposed to be here 9 to 5.
Does that happen on the captive side?
I
don't know.
Yes
I mean,
no.
so I'm sure
I think it depends on the DM.
I'm sure there's like myths on your side that you hear about our side, the independent side, where you go, we heard this about independence. And then there's things on the independent side where I go, hey, I've heard this about captives. Is that
some companies
that's
do
like
that?
one example of a thing that I've
Farmers-
heard on the independent side that you guys do.
Farmers has people within corporate that technically do like field visits and stuff to offices and pop in and check, but that hasn't happened since COVID started. Because they're not allowed to be in office either. But some of the other carriers, you know, Big Red and all of those, like they're much more.
You need to be there 9 to 5. Where were you?
Yes. Like I don't take payments like cash. I don't take check drop offs. I do over the phone or mail
EFT,
me a check. Like that, like EFT, all that obviously. But I don't, hey, I'm going to drop off a check.
No,
nope.
you're not.
What's the routing and account number on that check so I can save you the $1.25 in gas to get over here?
Well, it's California, so it's more like $2.35.
It's a sore subject again, things.
Okay, so on that subject, let's talk about California versus not California rate increases. So we were talking about renewals. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I know on the independent side, it's always interesting to say like, where's the line in the sand that you draw when you proactively shop a renewal? Because we have, if we're going to use the beverage analogy, we have every beverage in the world, right? So we can proactively be like, hey,
are you humble bragging that you have every beverage in the world?
Yes, I am. So we usually use like a fruit analogy, like a fruit cart, like you're selling mangoes and I'm selling mangoes and everything else. But my question is what does a captive do from like a renewal increase? Not what do you do from a process perspective.
Put our head down and pray to God. No,
well, I know, but like with us, it's typically like 15%. If the rate goes up more than 15%, we're going to proactively do something about that. The process then goes into place. I would say, generally speaking, what does a captive do in a renewal process? Do they draw a line in the sand as well, or do they not have a line in the sand because they don't have the fruit stand?
Anything over about 12 to 15%, I take a look at like, hey, what's going on this account? Is there something we can do with deductibles? Is it now a good time?
Did something fall off? Did a discount fall off? In area?
Is there an area we can look at it bundling? Like maybe if we look at this increase as like being a positive spin, like, okay, we're having an increase. We might as well try and bundle or add that umbrella now. And so that increase actually means something.
Right.
We try to get very creative with spreading money around so that it doesn't feel as bad at the end of the day.
As bad as an increase.
I think
there's nothing we can do.
Well, and I think we also have to do a diligent job of setting that expectation with the client. Like, listen, this auto policy is a 6-month policy. So after 6 months, you know, it's going to re-rate. Something's going to change.
And the price of fixing cars never goes down, so it's probably going to go up.
So these are my expectations I set with customers every time I write new business. It's the same every single time. I tell them, I say, hey, great, you know, I really appreciate you trust my agency. I am going to share some expectations you should have of me. I'm also going to share some expectations I have of you.
Good. I love this.
And I say, hey, here's the deal. Every year you should expect on average about a 6% increase in your insurance because
that's
everything.
California.
Yes, California. Because I can do that legally because that's our cap, 6.9%.
Yep.
Now,
must be nice.
Now I can do that because I have the ability to do that. Now I set the expectation rates are always going to go up. Their milk, everything, groceries, gas, everything goes up. I can set that and they can understand that. The second thing I do is I say my expectations of you are if and when, unless you have standing water in your home or your house is on fire, outside of those two things, you call me first. My expectation is you do not file a claim without talking to me unless those two things happen. because I want to make sure that we get somebody out there, determine the cause of loss, determine how much it's going to fix so that we can look at your deductible, see if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you filing a claim, it not being covered, your rates go up.
Yeah, sure.
And then I say, lastly, I've
or it being $1,000 claim. And
correct.
You're going, that's now going to cost you $4,000 over the course of the next 5
correct.
years. Yeah.
And then I say, now the expectations I have of you, are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
One, if you have a billing issue or like any type of billing concern, renewal bill, whatever, those are handled during office hours. I am giving you my cell phone. You will have access to me. If you call me on the weekend and I answer, I expect there to be an emergency.
Right.
If you're buying a car or all of those things,
I don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, you can
Call
you
me
can
on
text
Monday.
me. You can hey, I'm buying a car. Do I have coverage? You can text me. I'll text you back. But over the weekends or after hours, my expectations of you are you can send me a text or an email. I'll respond to you during business hours. And so I lay out clear, and I also lay out my expectation of you also is that we are not a walk-in clinic.
Yeah.
If you call or text me during the week, I am usually in appointment. I am usually appointment only. I will respond immediately, schedule a time to talk later. And that way I set the expectation for the customer of the business I want to run. Because every phone call I get, I screen and I send them a text. I don't answer phone calls because my day is scheduled the way that I need it to be scheduled to be efficient and to be effective. I can't be pulled. You see it on Insurance Soup all the time. Like my day went to crap. Like I am a chicken with its head cut off.
It's 8:30 and it's already off the rails.
Yeah. And it's like, you got to
take control.
You have control over that.
It's like having bad kids.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as bad kids.
Yeah.
Like
it's the parent let it get out of control. Yeah.
Set those boundaries and hold them accountable too.
Yeah.
And it's that same thing with customers.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yep. And so if you get out in front of that,
I also think so. I always talk about being like a $10 an hour agent versus $100 an hour agent, and the habits and the activities that make you a $10 an hour agent versus $100 an hour agent, and this is a perfect example of letting the client dictate the process and letting the client dictate what's going to happen. And you're going, I'm now a $90 an hour agent. I'm now a $70 an hour agent. I'm losing ground because I'm letting the client dictate what's going to happen in my agency. Somebody on the last podcast, Jeff Holtman, said, being independent is like having kids and being captive is like being single and not having any kids. Do you like that analogy? Like both of those existences are marvelous and wonderful, right? I'm a young single adult. I'm loving being single and not having kids so I can go to Europe whenever I want to go to Europe. I can live downtown in the gorgeous condo complex and I can go swimming. And I've got an amazing bod that is not a dad bod. And then
sore subject again.
And then being independent is kind of like, sorry, you now got 5 kids. It's crazy. Life is insane, but is life better or worse with or without kids? It's hard to answer that question. Do you guys like that analogy or do you not like that analogy?
I mean, Matt's
got 5 kids, so he's like, should I have had 5 kids?
Like kids are assholes, obviously. However,
another edit.
There we go.
However, they are some of the most rewarding things that you can do in your life. Now, if I would think, if I were a captive, I would feel that, or if I was an independent, I'd feel that way as well. I feel like captive more so feels like you're wearing clothes that are stifling and a little bit too hot.
Oh, this is a good analogy too.
You can still function and do things.
So you're in a super hot suit, but you're like, man, like you look
it'd be
good,
nice to take
but you're uncomfortable.
It'd be nice to, put on like a comfortable shirt, or it'd be nice to, now, not to say independent is completely comfortable. There's a whole nother set of problems that come with it, a whole nother set of work. But I feel like captive
it's a restricting uniform.
Captive is in of itself, its definition. It's restrictive. It is captive. You are very restrictive, and it's very frustrating in a lot of elements. But I don't know what I don't know about what's frustrating on the other side.
We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we, as captives, we can only move at the speed of the company.
Sure.
And we only have one company.
Sure.
And one speed.
And one speed, right?
Yeah.
And so if the speed of doing business at the mothership slows down, now our speed of business slows down.
Yeah.
And so to us, to me especially, that's a frustrating thing because I like to move fast. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Like what are we discussing? This is better this, better that, better rate, local wages.
Here's a great example. Here's a great example. Farmers in 2021, January, they came out in California, at least I'm not sure if it's in South Dakota, they came out with pre-bind requirements. You've got to get mileage documents signed pre-bind. That's not unheard of in other companies. Other companies do it. Sure. But it makes the process of binding policies slower and more difficult. Joe's at work. He can't go on his email and sign the pre-bind documents. He's got to do it late at night. He gets home with his kids. He's distracted. Doesn't do it. It makes the process so much more difficult. And I can't just say, well, now I'm not writing with company A, I'm writing with company B because it's easier.
Or
I can't
they
do that.
tightened up the underwriting.
Or like they won't even tell me about eligibility anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's a big hurdle to get over.
Well, so like
that's crazy. We were talking about that before, and I was that blows my mind. Let's not get into that.
No, that's a sore subject.
But yeah, that sounds like a sore subject. But
something it is years ago was roof docks. We get a ton of hail in the Black Hills of South Dakota.
We do.
What's the hail? That's the gorilla hail.
Gorilla hail. Have you ever heard of gorilla hail?
Do you remember those? Remember those old school yellow balls that had the spikes of color that jumped around?
I've seen gorilla hail.
That's gorilla hail.
I mean, I've never known it was called gorilla hail, but I've seen those balls of hail. That's what it is. Sure.
And so like we had, and we've since fixed it, thank goodness, but we used to waste so much time trying to track down building permits and invoices from roofers just to prove the roof age
had been redone.
Yeah, I can go out there, I can park in front of the house and I can tell that this roof isn't from 1988 anymore. You know,
or you can get the document from the roofer that said they put on a brand new roof.
Yeah,
3 years
within
ago.
30 days. Give me some time. And I don't know. It just there's some things on the captive side that you feel like they have the cruise control set and you're at a snail's pace.
Yeah. But then there's things on the captive side that are very, very enjoyable. I'm
sure there are. What are some of those things?
We have great bonus structure right now. I feel that we're maxing out. We had a big one in November.
Okay.
You know, there's when they don't change the structure every quarter, and you can kind of get some sort of
kind of like go, hey, everything's comfortable because nothing's changed.
Yep, and you can really max that out. We do a decent job of that. I feel on our side. Yeah, you know, I don't know what I don't know. Having the ability to chat in and ask a question and still do something else without having to spend my time on the phone.
It's really nice.
Is nice or can be nice.
Used to be nice.
Yeah, there's some good things.
He said used to be nice. We can do that on the IA side too. Okay. Thoughts on farmers buying MetLife? I just want to preface this by saying this is just two random guys giving their opinions on.
I see the big picture of what they were looking at. Okay. I see the big picture.
Companies do this all the time.
Yep.
Companies do this all the time now.
All the time.
Now.
All the time. There's mergers and acquisitions all the time.
Some of my problems with the MetLife buyout has come from how it's hashing out between the agents, being like agents can't write with MetLife through farmers. Like I can't write MetLife.
A farmer's agent does not have MetLife?
No, we can't write MetLife. Across the board,
you will though, won't you soon?
We have it.
I can't.
Yeah, it's probably it's a California thing though, because of the super groups. There's some interesting laws in California that can't make it happen now, I'm sure.
MetLife,
I suppose,
it was a big uproar when it came out because MetLife was writing business on farmers' clients that was looping the agent out. That was a big problem. I'm not sure how they fixed that, but they were basically, and that happened with not Liberty Mutual, Nationwide. That happened as well on their buyout before they went independent. Correct me if I'm wrong. They went independent.
They did. So they shut down their captive channel and went independent.
Yes, and Progressive kind of does the same thing. How you can go to Progressive direct and Progressive through an agent, have the same exact coverages and policies, but one's hundreds of dollars cheaper.
Yeah, they're different products technically.
Yes,
filed differently at the state.
Correct. Yep. And so that kind of thing can happen. I don't know if that's the same thing that's happening here, but I know that was a big uproar with farmers agents as well. But you know, I don't get to deal with MetLife and see the benefits of it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Here's what we do in
California. The California perspective.
Yeah, we live in different worlds.
Because you gotta have your hands on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have it. And here's my issue with how, not so much how it was rolled out, but just how so much we're able to access it right now.
Okay.
Agency Elephant is a startup, and our our software handles and does things smoother, quicker, cleaner, better. And we are a very, very, very tiny fraction of a percent of what this, like the web design, the time it takes to get a quote.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to be confident. If you're here and I'm quoting you, I need to be confident in my system to not error out. Take 45 minutes.
Sure.
I need
You're
to know
playing
that
Russian roulette if there's a customer there.
Yes. Yeah. We kind of set
On
an
the
agency
farmers
rule that
platform
we
or
don't
on the Met platform?
on anything right now.
Interesting.
We don't quote in person anymore.
Okay.
Just
because you don't know if it's going to work at that moment.
we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know if we're going to run into a hiccup. Yeah. So things like that, I need to be confident in my tools for me to do my job. If I'm, a contractor and I'm not confident running the saw, I shouldn't be running that saw, and it's that same feeling, and
interesting.
It changes from day to day, week to week, I feel.
And if we got on Soup and said, hey, every captive agent out there, let's not just say farmers, because it doesn't have to be a farmers conversation, but like I see it on Soup all the time with like State Farm too, like the State Farm system's down today or something like that. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
As an independent agent, I look at that and go, huh?
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
Yeah. I worked at State Farm for 8 months before being approached by farmers.
I was going to say,
one of the big things that brought me over from
you
State
must dye
Farm,
that beard.
I'm actually 65. It was back then when you compared Big Red to Farmers. Farmers had great technology.
Yeah, interesting.
I needed a RAS token to work from home with State Farm. I can connect Wi-Fi and work from my in-laws' ranch if I want to at Farmers. I can chat in. What do you mean you bought a new boat? I have to quote this in Necco? MS-DOS screen?
Like what the airlines still use?
To me, I'm like, whoa, this is... When I left AT&T after having the newest smartphone that came out every month, when I did my first day at State Farm, and I'm like,
this is scary.
The agent's like, come down here. This is where we keep the fax machine. And I laughed. I thought he was joking. Like, no, for real. It was a real fax machine. And I'm like, whoa.
That is, in a nutshell, I feel the insurance industry as a whole. We are so far behind embracing technology, embracing conversation intelligence, embracing things that other people and... I mean,
other
obviously,
industries are 100% all the way down the road on, and we're going, maybe we should do APIs.
Yes. And
it's like APIs have been around. Yeah. I don't even know. I'm not a tech guy, but I know I've heard the word since like 8 years ago.
Before Blockbuster went out of business. Exactly. No, one of the things that we talk about a lot, especially when it involves agency elephant, but in general is what we look at is with software. If you are not on the cutting edge of building and changing, you will eventually die. Yeah. Like Blockbuster, Walkman, all of these things if you are not being out in front and exploring and building, like some of the things we're adding to the system with conversation intelligence, voice intelligence, like AI capabilities through like all sorts of things that we're walking into, adding into the system. Yeah. These are things that need to be done on the front end to keep our software moving in the trajectory so that it is not left. Because the last thing we want is for which was the reason that you guys left Touchpoints. It's not like it was really, really good for the things that it did, but eventually got to the point where nothing changed in 5 years. And we're now 5 years down the road. We need to be constantly changing how we do things. And the insurance industry is so stuck in the 80s on how things are done, and data is not accessible. I mean, any carrier you go to, even EasyLinks or anything, like reporting is brutal. Data is brutal. Getting data is brutal. And it's like, but this is my data. It shouldn't be
shouldn't be this hard.
No, I put it in there and and so those are the things that we have to battle with softwares. It's like, we have to try and find a way to work with these systems that are archaic.
Yeah. Well, so, and my thing, if I'm a Fortune 500 company and I get an opportunity to quote you, right? I can quote you in Farmers. I can quote you in Foremost. I can quote you in Foremost SIG on the property. I can quote you in Farmers, Foremost SIG and Bristol West on the auto. Yeah. I shouldn't have to do that input 6 times. That doesn't make no sense to me. I don't have 3 hours to run 6 quotes and then go, maybe maybe it'll rate better in your wife's name. No.
Oh, boy.
No. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing
I mean,
this.
I know what you're talking about.
Now I'm doing this 12 times.
Oh, no.
And I've got the phone ringing off the hook. Like,
and I'm hitting up your Facebook Messenger video chat.
Yeah, he's trying to show me what he did with his mustache. And I'm like, Matt, I'm
trying to make $400 right now.
I'm trying to make $40 right now.
That's a good point.
So you can only move as fast as things let you. And I think the one similarity we do share is we like getting from point A to point B with the least amount of roadblocks, hurdles, work, but not losing the customer experience, not losing the effect.
Yeah.
Like I want to work smarter and harder. I don't just want to work smarter and spend, 5 days out of the office this week and not care. But it's that balance of moving at the speed of business that I really want and strive for.
So on the last podcast with Holtman, he said he was going into a restaurant in Breckenridge. It was an opportunity to ride an auto home package umbrella, whatever. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to ride the gondola up. I'll ride the gondola down. By the time I'm done, I will have made $500 in commissions. And that's fine. I'll go do this real quick. And he did. He rode it up, rode it down, was done. And he bound an auto home and a package umbrella, whatever. So on the captive side, help me understand this. You are great at marketing, so you have a ton of leads coming in the front door. You got 100 at-bats coming in the front door every month, and you're going, oh, man, my best friends love me. You got Agency Elephant, a CRM, and you got a bunch of technology working on behalf of the agency to make every process that is possible to be super slick is super slick. But there are parts of the process where you literally pull your hair out and go, I can't. You're not providing me the thing that I need to move as fast as I'm capable of moving.
Right.
Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, our biggest hurdles and hang up come from dealing with, underwriters, come with billing supervisors, underwriting supervisors, In
the last 5 days, we've bound 3 auto policies, right? Households. All 3 of them failed. The last one was unrecoverable. The solution is to requote it.
5 days
Which
later.
takes how much time? How much time to
take
requote
as much time to
the
start from
same
scratch.
thing that you just described,
But
here's where 12 quotes.
Here's where it's going to take the most time.
Yeah.
Well, they've already paid their down payment on the previous policy. Now I've got to call in or chat in to get that initial payment moved to this new one because the software that I used failed.
Oh, no.
And so that's where...
And it's going to affect the installment schedule.
It's going to affect the relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
It's just that trickle down effect of just... that, those are the things that make myself and my team want to pull our hair out.
Yeah.
I just hate the feeling of providing a service that I know isn't done the way that it should be done.
Yeah.
And that was, again, one of the reasons that I was looking for something that I hated feeling like, and I just did this the other day.
Yeah.
I hate getting a referral, chatting with them, sending them a quote. And because I was out of the office or I was at out and about or it was late in the day or whatever happened, I didn't put them in my quote follow-up automation. And then I get 4 days down the road and I'm like, son of a gun, I did not call Jim back. Or you get a referral and you forget to call him. Or someone texts you and you forget to respond. I hate feeling like I have done a service level that is below the standard that I have set for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not saying my service level or the way I do business is superb, but I have a level for myself that I say, this is my standard.
Yeah.
And when I don't meet that, it doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, you feel like you failed the person.
Yes.
And you're saying there's, of all of the things that you can control, let's just pretend you can control 8 out of the 10 things, but you can't control 10 out of 10 things because the carrier that you're with controls 2 of the 10 things that you can't control.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I feel like we deal with a lot of frustrations.
I think
as
that
being
exists
captive,
on the IA side
but I
too,
feel
though.
like I feel like there's always frustrations.
There's going to be give and take, I think, on both sides.
Yeah.
But the benefit is
I
when
don't
you
think
see
that's
a 20.
unique to just the captive side.
I think that's business in general.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's frustrating seeing a 25% rate hike and literally being able to do nothing except for when you call them, pray to God that you're going to keep the business.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
it's frustrating going, oh, your youthful driver got licensed.
Oh,
we went from permitted to licensed.
Yeah.
And, you might want to come into the office and buckle up for this one.
Yeah.
This
isn't going to go
well.
well.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question. There are a lot of CRMs in the insurance industry. A lot. I could run through the names. I won't, but you know who they are. Some are owned by humongous tech houses. Some are little startups like Agency Elephant. What makes Agency Elephant the best one in your mind?
We don't consider ourselves a CRM first.
Okay, what is it?
We consider ourselves a communication platform on steroids.
Okay.
When I think, what are you thinking? What are you saying?
I mean, CRM is a rough word too,
Yeah.
because we could technically fit within the space of a CRM. We just don't technically call ourselves a CRM because the problem is this. Even if we called ourselves a CRM, you still need to have an agency management system that does everything.
That is true.
Not an agency management system that only does a few of the things. Like you need a full agency management system. You
Outside
need
of a CRM.
You need Vertifor. You need QQ.
Yep,
you need call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You need that. So why are we wanting to be a CRM when they have a CRM within their agency management and they have to use that agency management system to quote and write business? We look at ourselves as a communication and automation platform on steroids that can nurture leads more effectively and efficiently, can prospect more effective and efficiently, can follow up on quotes more effective and efficiently, can make sure your renewals are done the right way, because I believe there is a right way to do your renewals and not a lot of people are doing them. And that is what we feel we do really, really, really good.
Okay.
We tell agents all the time though, which is I think one of the things that separates ourselves from the other platforms out there. We'll tell them flat out, hey, we don't care necessarily if you use us. We know what we have. We know our value. We know we're not overpriced. We know our market. We know what we're bringing to the table. We know the time we invest into our users through our systems and all of the help and support we give. We just want you to do something, because we know when you do something with whatever other carrier or company is out there, because of your relationship or involvement in Soup or Agency Elephant Facebook group, you will come back to us because you will, okay, I dabbled in this. I understand why I need it. And now I'm ready to really, because we can do, and this is usually one of our biggest hangups. You go into Disneyland and you walk down Main Street. I'm really jealous. We actually might be going for a day next week too. Maybe
We'll
I'll see you there.
Have a churro.
You text me.
We'll share a churro together.
We'll
You
work
eat
our
one
way
end,
to the
I'll eat
middle.
the other.
It'll be like a Lady and the Tramp kind of thing. I'll be the lady.
So one of the things that when users get on, they get on Main Street and they're like, there is so much going on. I don't know what to do. And that is our biggest hang up is there's so many lights flashing. There's so many opportunities. There's so much fun to be had. So much money to be made. I don't know what to do. And so what we always tell people is like, pick one thing.
Go to Frontierland.
Go to
else.
Indiana Jones.
What's your biggest opportunity? What's your biggest problem you want to fix?
Like mine was bundling. I needed to bundle more effectively when I came on board. His was service. I needed to bundle. So I needed to get all my clients. Like I used to think, this is how good I used to think I was before I did this. I would once a year get a list of all of my customers that were auto no home. I would connect a Bluetooth keyboard to my phone and I would copy a message that I created and I'd leave out the, hey, Jim. And then I copy, it's Matt, your farmer's agent. Check it on your account. Looks like you don't have your double dipping discount, whatever it was. And I used to manually send that text to all of my auto no homes, and it'd take me 3 days to do it. And I'd go home after the third day, and I'd go and I'd be like, Kel, my wife's name is Kelly. I call her Kel. I'd be like, Kel, I freaking killed it. I just reached out to every auto no home customer this week. I quoted 10 accounts.
I am an insurance
My DM would be so proud of me.
You should be so happy to be married to me right now because I killed it. And then when I got to Agency Elephant, I was like, oh, I click a button and this does this for me in less than an hour. And I have that opportunity in one day. I didn't feel so great about myself 3 years ago when I was copying and pasting and looking up the phone numbers, typing the phone number, making sure I knew the guy's name. Is this Jose or is this Priscilla's number? I don't know. Hope it's Jose, you know? But like when you look at our software, I think one of the differences that makes us, in my opinion, one of the more attractive platforms to use is me and Brian spend all day, every day in the platform, working on it, finding better ways to improve it. 2022, our goal is to make our interface very, very simple to use. That is our goal, is to explore, remove things from our system that people aren't using, to consolidate things, to make it really, really easy to use. And that is what we do. And we can very quickly make changes. One of our things we added to the system in like 2 weeks from scratch was we wanted a dashboard that showed all outbound activity. What was like, what drips fired off to who, and what did it say?
What's inbound? To put it on people's radar.
What kind of
if Jim calls you today?
Yes,
you know it's because the automation
because of the drip that went out.
What are my goals for daily outbound messages? What are my goals for premium? Where's my tracking? Where's my meetings? And we were like, we want this.
Yeah.
We went to our developers. We had it done in 2.5 weeks. Tested it for a couple weeks after that to make sure we were good. Had it in the account in a month. And it's those kind of things that I think make us, in my opinion, one of the more attractive platforms, because we can do any and all things in our system that other companies can do.
It's a weekly conversation that we have.
Yes.
A prospect for Agency Elephant will mention a different solution, right?
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, let's check them out. Oh, they don't have recorded line voice over IP. They don't have ringless voicemail.
They only have email drip campaigns.
Well, that's 2001, right?
Because email is like, what are open rates now on email? Like 100%? People always check their email.
I never miss an email.
97%.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's 97% now.
But there's so many things in our platform to do and use and write business. And then the biggest problem after they've decided what they want to do, the biggest problem they have is now they've got to go to their database and get their reports on their database and then sort it, filter it, edit it, make sure it's correct, make sure when they're submitting their win-back list of people they lost,
it's accurate.
That when this is the problem, when users download from any AMS system out there, they're like, all right, I'm going to get all my win-backs, I'm going to plug them in, grip it and rip it, see how it goes. 30% of those are, Matt,
you already have my
policy.
Auto and my home and my umbrella. Why are you telling me you don't have my auto?
Wait, Matt, did I get canceled?
Right.
And now your phone's ringing. Did you cancel me? Did you like that is our biggest hang up, which isn't a hang up that involves us, but it's a hang up that affects us because it's like, I don't have time to spend working on my list. And this is always my argument. I made a post about it the other day. Riles me up.
Yeah.
Your insurance agency generates you how much revenue a year that you take home. Let's call it $80,000. Right. Your agency generates you $80,000. I don't care what you claim on taxes. I don't care about your revenue. You get $80,000 a year. Yeah. Your database essentially is what pays you $80,000 a year. Yeah. So if you have a good system that works that list better, maybe that's $95,000 a year. Maybe it's 90, whatever.
Sure.
What if insurance doesn't work out? Your database can now be used to go do taxes, real estate, mortgage, you name it, anything.
Sure.
I don't understand the concept. Like, it baffles me. I don't understand the concept that your hour a day for 3 weeks getting your database filtered, sorted, put it on an external system that you own and manage and control, that you have access to. I don't understand why $80,000 a year isn't worth your time to sit down and wake up early.
You want to see him get real fired up?
Yeah, that's it.
But these people don't have time to do this. But they've
how's
seen
every 1983?
They've seen every Ozark.
How's The Bachelor? How's your freaking show hole? Like
The Bachelor's a really good show, man.
Like, I don't understand. Like, Matt, like people say, Matt, how do you? And I don't think that I am special at all. I don't think that running my agency on 90 minutes a day is special at all. It did not come from me being a very smart person. It came from a year and a half of consistency to work towards a goal. Yeah. Right. Now, when I look at this, it's like, guys, like when I built for you, I was up at 3:45 every single morning and building until 7 a.m. I'd take my kids to school. I'd come home. I'd spend an hour working on my own automations, and then I would get into customer things. Yeah. Like, if you can't understand the importance, and we just talked about this at lunch, like, I am not a huge fan of being a workaholic. I think that balance and all these things, there's more important things in life.
Life, family.
But if you have a period of time where you're like, for 3 months, I am going to be up at the crack of frickin' dawn before everybody else. I'm going to lock in my office from 4 a.m. till 7 a.m. before anybody is awake, before I have any responsibilities. For this finite period of time, I am going to overinvest because that $80,000 a year is worth it.
Yeah.
That mindset baffles me.
Right. Or, 100% yes. But even then, if you say I'm going to overinvest for 3 months so that I can work 90 minutes a day, suddenly we're not even talking about $80,000 a year. We're talking about a quality of life that's worth $400,000 a year.
Correct.
We're talking about something that's completely different.
Correct. But the agents, I feel, have a very hard time because this industry doesn't allow you to see tomorrow. Right. This industry is it has a very good fog around you of your problems and the issues you deal with whatever
on your desk.
Everything you deal with on a day-to-day basis that drives you nuts. It does a very good job not letting you see. And I used to say this all the time, like, you need to pick your head up out of the sand for an hour a day. Look around at where you're at and assess and evaluate and pick one thing you're going to try and fix. Try and fix it. And then put your head back in the sand and go to work.
Work on your business, not work in your business.
Insurance agents have is just a very broad generalization.
Sure.
And I think everybody does. We have a very hard time thinking that 30 minutes a day is going to break, or an hour a day is going to break my office or systems or agency, or it's going to be a mess. No, in fact, like, I use this example in parenting. Like, me and my wife give each other a ton of free time. I go hang out with my friends. I go golf every Monday. I do what I want to do, not necessarily whenever I want to do it, but she does whatever she wants to do. Not necessarily whenever she wants to do it, but the ability to get that break makes us better parents. And as agency owners or agents or CSRs, the ability to say, systems off, phone on mute, 45 minutes focusing on something that's going to bring my business value is going to make you a better agent.
The office isn't going to burn down in 1 hour.
No, it goes on. And so that's
hard for people to learn, though.
It is.
Across the board, and it's not just insurance agents. My responsibilities get me on a plane and get me on the road often, and I frequently go, I can't leave my desk because I have too much going on here. I've got 250 emails a day. But in reality, I can leave my desk and I can go on a business trip and I can get other stuff done in a different way, and I can delegate and all that kind of stuff. But I would say no matter what industry you're in, everybody's got to go, I need to set aside an hour a day so that I can work on the thing, not in the thing.
Well, we had a user, and this is kind of a cool story. I know Matt likes this one. I wonder how many agents, when they go to work every day, it's a hostile work environment of just putting fires out. And what's that doing to your staff also? Like, if you're leading like that from the top down. And so we had a user, she's a fantastic lady, that we would do these one-on-one calls after a few months, and they would say, we're killing it. This is great. Let's get a testimonial video. Let's and not scripted. I
love this story. You're right.
I know.
Love this
it's
story.
giving you chills. And we asked her, what's the biggest benefit?
By the way, if you're watching this video, these two wore the same shirt. They're both wearing Dixon shirts. They look like twins.
What's up, dude?
They got facial hair. They both look like they crawled out of the backwoods of somewhere.
You would not pick us up if we were hitchhiking.
I would not pick them up if they were hitchhiking.
But usually we get, Shawn, what's the best thing you've gotten from automation? What's the best thing that's happened because of this? And it's usually, our bind rates through the roof the last 3 months.
We sold 50,000 in premium this week.
Our retention just jumped from yada yada.
It's
money
usually,
related,
or metric related.
Yes.
She said
we have more cross-sold stuff.
She said the agency culture.
And I was like,
interesting.
And I'm not going to say her name. I love her to death. She's phenomenal. She's if I could,
why not say her name?
She may or not be a captive agent,
fine, that's cool.
And may or not necessarily want to be named. I love her to death.
She knows who she is.
Yes. Yeah, cool.
She's listening right now, going, I know they're talking.
I sure hope she is. Okay. If I were to be an agent that worked for somebody else, I would want to work for an agent like her.
Yep. Yeah,
because she. Like, just to have the cognitive ability to notice that, and this is something that nobody can really measure. What is the value in a dollar amount of changing your office culture and dynamics and making your employees have a better workday. So they don't have to cold call 50 people every day. They don't have to make 20 late pay calls every day. They don't have to look up or call all their missing documents. What's the dollar amount of that? Well, they can't put one on because it's like
you think about the Great Recession, and it's like, would I have lost these employees or these resources of the agency had my processes been foxier processes that made it more delightful to come to work?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we all want the employees that feel better and are happier when they're productive and when they're efficient. And so when you can give them production and efficiency, you know, like I know Ariel's much happier when we're turning and burning, everything's good and we're not having issues. She doesn't have to answer the phones right now. She's not being pulled in a million directions. She works her workflow and gets all of her stuff done. And the first week that you did it, or the first 2 weeks, you're looking at your, you know, like the policies that you had bound, and you're like, I don't know if this is a fluke, but we quoted more in the last 2 weeks than we have in our best months. And this is like through Thanksgiving. It's like through like a weird time too. And I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, why are we so overproduced? Like, why is our production
so far up? Why are we doing so good? I don't like it.
Do we have an error in our rates? Like, are we more competitive?
Start writing.
Did we somehow get a list
You're calling the district manager. Did we take a rate decrease?
Ariel, did we find a list of, you know, married doctors with perfect credit scores and no youth with hell of money?
Like, with Ariel, do you ever say like, do you ever like quote the movie and be like, what's that thing called again? You know, or like just like quote the movie at all.
It's a thingamabob.
What's that thingamabob?
No, I try not to.
Do you ever like brush your hair with like a fork or something?
No.
See, when I go to South Dakota,
so funny to like brush your beard with a fork or something.
When I go to South Dakota, usually I'll go to Brian's office at least one day. We'll hang out with Ariel, do a couple meals with her, and it's usually me and Ariel just joking around the whole time. And Brian, like, this is a complete mess. We'll go to lunch and have tacos, and we're just chugging pitchers of margaritas. And he's like, oh, no.
Why do we bring you to town?
Why
do you come here? Okay, we got to get to a lot of stuff in very short order. So how do you fill your own pipeline in your own agency?
How do I fill my pipeline? Majority of mine comes from lender referrals.
Okay.
I'm also in a B&I chapter.
Okay.
We also do some sponsorship stuffs, kids sporting events, things like that. Town I'm in, 70,000.
You're in Black Hills-ish area.
I think we have 7 or 8 farmers agents in the area in that you know city. A lot of word of mouth, a lot of asking for referrals. Pipeline stays full. Usually when people come to me, they're coming at the time of buying a home.
Okay.
So
mine is going to sound a little different. I have a lot of mortgage broker referrals too. Get a lot of referrals from my book. That's where a majority of my good business comes from.
The gold within.
Yes. However,
does agency help agents find the gold within?
Yes, for sure. The problem is you've got to do the work.
Yeah,
you got to get the list, and you've got to put it in the system to do it.
Yeah. Okay, good. So how do you get your leads?
Mine, this might be shocking to people. I look at, you've got to have at least 5 marketing systems to generate. You got to have 5 things going to have a healthy business. That's usually the perfect number corporate says. And I drink the Kool-Aid, so I believe in the perfect number.
Good.
So one of my buckets is vendor leads, purchasing leads. That is one of my buckets.
Like Rocket Referrals?
I'm talking EverQuote, Smart Financial, like HBW leads, Quote Wizard.
Yeah.
I have found
Does Farmers pay 50% of those? Like co-op that stuff with you?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them. I don't like. When I first started doing it, my concept behind it was, I am not expecting to make the sale today. My system is set up to hit them at 6 months, to them 4 times before the year.
I'll use Agency Elephant
to take advantage. I'm going to
recycle the data. Yeah. You're paying for the data.
Data grab. So that is what. So 1 month I'm getting. Every month I get 30 leads. And so every month next year, I'm going to have those 30 leads I'm hitting and the new 30 leads.
But you're not calling these people.
I don't do any
using
work.
Elephant to automate the whole thing.
I don't touch them until they respond to the text message.
Yeah.
And once that cream rises to the top, now I have a hot prospect to work.
Got it.
That stuff gets zapped over and API'd into my system. I don't do a thing.
Got it. So that's one of your 5. What are your other ones? Mortgage lenders is another one.
Mortgage, referrals.
Got it.
I do, one of the reasons I came on to Agency Elephant, or not reasons I came on, but what I started was I started using Agency Elephant to generate leads for my solar guy. My solar guy refers me business.
Yeah.
So if I can get him people to talk to, I now have people to also
take care of your own.
A lot of agents are
Correct.
guilty of not referring,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
Like we're
They
kind of
do.
the end
They
of the
have
road.
a lot of
and if you can find
guilt.
ways to generate some leads, and I've done this in the past, generate leads for lenders. They're not used to that. They're used to getting cookies. They're used to getting donuts.
Yeah.
They're used to getting stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I call up a lender and I'm like, hey, Josh, I got a hot one for you. You need to call Bill here.
Yeah. He's like, I will never leave you.
Hey, by the way, Josh, what do you have on your desk that I can quote?
The value of one person to a lender can be upwards or more of $3,500 a deal.
Absolutely.
Or more.
Absolutely.
One of the things I do as well is I use my system to generate refinance opportunities for my lenders. I don't wait for the customer to come to me and say, I'm thinking about refinancing. I need some docs. At that point, it's too late.
Yeah.
But I send out updates on the renewal process about, hey, if you haven't looked at rates recently, you might, I don't do mortgages.
Yeah.
I trust and know a lot of people that you can interview.
Well, and one of the questions we've asked before on the renewal side was, do you plan on refining your home or purchasing a new home within the next 12 months? Any one of those that gets answered, and that's on automation.
Boom, done.
All right. We've gone long enough. So I'm going to wrap up by asking, what words of wisdom would you give yourself when you're starting out? You can go back to the beginning and say, hey, Brian, you need to know this before you get going. Or, hey, Matt, you need to know this before you get going. What word of wisdom would you give your younger self?
Ooh.
I feel like if
or if you could talk to a college kid getting out right now, what would you tell him right now?
I think personally for me, not so, I don't know really how to say it. I guess embrace the suck. Like you're going to have days and there's a lot of things that can go wrong in your day.
Yeah.
But those days of like feeling that pressure and being uncomfortable, that's where you start getting policies.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember. It's like I blanked out from policy number 100 to policy number 1500.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
But it was embracing that suck and going, this is just what it is. I'm building something residual here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cower from it. Like I'm not going to, like a lender's hitting me up at 8:00 because someone just put in an offer and they need a quote by the morning. Hey, Amber, I'm going to go fire up my computer real quick. I'm going to embrace the suck. I'm
going to grow the anthill by one little pebble, but it's going to grow.
And she was,
but you watch that pebble.
The biggest thing, and this might be a 2-part best piece of advice. Your spouse, if you're married, has to be on board.
Yeah.
Like if she was like, no, it's family time. It would have stunted the business's growth, you know?
It's your turn to put the kids to bed.
I can't tell you how many times I've pulled over on our way to Tahoe or on our way to a family vacation. I've pulled over, gotten out of the car on the side of the road and had to take a call that lasted 45 minutes on the side of the road.
And the kids are all...
Get back in and I'm like,
sorry,
hey,
guys.
Cal, I'm so sorry. She's like, not a big deal.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, I got to go quote this while we're on vacation. Or hey, I got to go do this.
Yeah.
And that is a very
so a life partner who's understanding about how the business grows.
Yes.
Our biggest advice definitely isn't buy agency elephant if you're just starting out.
No.
If you said that, I'd be like, whatever. Come on.
And there's some agents that I think don't qualify to have this. If you're brand new and you're doing everything,
and you've got 100 clients,
you'll know when it's time. You know, but
I agree.
I think my biggest advice, if I were to give it to another person or look back at myself, is that like we talked about earlier, I have found all of the best decisions that I have ever made that led to something that was life-changing. One, owning my own business and agency was life-changing. Two, becoming a partner at Agency Elephant was significantly more life-changing in the value that it brought to my life and the happiness it brought to my life in not even like money aside, like in all of the things it has brought to fulfill me. All of the decisions I have made stemmed from being irresponsible and going for something when all of my ducks weren't necessarily in a row. And I failed 100 times more. Like when you're a new agent, it's like you go on Soup, and bless Soup. I love Soup. But if you go on Soup and you say, hey, I'm thinking about going to dealerships to get business, you will get hammered to the dirt by people that know better than you on the type of business. But as a new agent, that's what I did. And I got business.
It's a way of getting business.
Kept me hungry because it was like, if I didn't write those 2 policies this week, I wouldn't have qualified to stay on my program. So it's like, or I would spend every weekend in open houses with realtors, getting little to no business, but activity breeds activity by law of nature. And so my advice would be is be irresponsible with your time. And if you are not selling yourself, if you're sitting behind your desk most days, you are not going to be writing business.
100%.
You need to be out
100%.
and being uncomfortable and irresponsible with your time 95% of the time. And 9 out of those 10 things won't work, and that's okay.
If you just sit there and wait, nothing's going to happen. If you go out there and shake it up a little bit and do some stuff,
be irresponsible.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a video where I talk about lead generation versus lead determination, and I start the video out by going, if you're an insurance agent and you're listening to this right now, you should already be good at lead generation.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, get out of the business, because you should be good. You shouldn't be here right now watching this video unless you're already good at this thing.
Yeah.
And then the video morphs into like, now you're generating 100 at bats. Now you have to decide which ones are the good ones. The ones from the dealership maybe less good than the ones from the mortgage lender.
You don't want everybody as a referral.
Right.
When you're young and you have nothing coming in, you want them all.
But you should be really good at being irresponsible with your time and just going out there and
be irresponsible.
Is responsibly irresponsible with your time, going, I am just out there really good at generating leads.
I'm and that is, I think, the hardest part for people in the industry is you have to be okay with trying 100 different things. And if your lead generation is getting you 100 leads and your lead qualifying processes, you're like, hey, 10 of these hundreds are good. Now you need to go back and figure out how to fix that so that you can get
that's exactly right.
15 or 20.
And I think agents also need to know too that like the way things are done in Sacramento aren't the way that things are done in Rapid City.
You're absolutely right.
And so like you go on Soup and you see someone ask that question. That's not going to work in Sacramento. But it might really work in Sturgis, South Dakota.
That's a really good point. Some things work in some areas. Some things don't work in other areas.
Some things work for people of different personalities.
That's true too.
You don't know the effort that person put into it.
That's true
to
too.
know where their opinion stemmed from. You don't know if they got that opinion because someone they know tried it and it went horribly for them. You don't know what you don't know. And so I love Soup for a lot of things and for helping agents. I was just talking about it, how I've made a ton of relationships out of mortgage issue that for a close of escrow. Within 10 minutes, someone that I trust that I met in Soup fixed it for me and got me a policy for a customer. I love all of those things. But I feel as if we could do a better job helping the younger agents, not give them stigmas that we've generated and created for ourselves based upon experience. Because guess what? Joe might not be good at automating stuff.
22-year-old Joe might be good at doing the thing that you were horrible at.
Exactly. And me and Taylor were just talking about this morning. Like there's like our IT guy who manages our IT and development stuff is incredible at certain things that we will never be incredible at. And that is why you need to understand what you're good at, stay in your zone, and
make a ton of money doing that thing.
Well, it's like B&I. You search B&I in Soup and you're going to see some negative comments. It's back to that same thing. What did you give when you went to B&I, right? And I checked my stats for the last year. You know, we did $300,000 in revenue from B&I. To a brand new agent, maybe on a new program. That's a game changer for their first year. You know,
it's life changing for their first year.
That's a game changer for a captive agent who's bleeding out the back door. No,
Sore subject.
Totally joking.
Sore subject.
I'm joking.
Your hair isn't fake. It's real. It's great. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
That's all he wanted.
But don't worry.
Sorry.
My facial hair would be horrible if I started growing it. I'm joking. Anything else you guys want to say? That's it. This has been Insurance You Indemnify Me. Brian, it was a pleasure meeting you face to face.
Finally, nice to meet you. Our relationship started off pretty rocky.
I think it might have started off pretty. I think my understanding of our relationship was it was rocky, but I'm not sure if it actually was.
Well, it was something with like a friend request. How did it all come about?
I have no idea. I think we were.
Didn't you get booted from somewhere?
Hold up, bro.
And I think he thought it was somewhere.
I don't know, bro.
From what?
Yeah.
I never got booted from anywhere. Let's start out with that.
Sean, please blame.
Sean,
Second
it was
of all,
a pleasure meeting you.
I think the story was I thought Brian was Taylor, and I thought Taylor was Brian. And I think Taylor was always calling for my execution, but I always thought it was Brian calling for my execution.
Now you talk to Taylor all
I talk to Taylor 4 times a day.
So I send this guy
I text Taylor 100 times a day.
I send this guy a friend request on Facebook. And
how long ago was this?
Well, forever ago.
Okay.
Somehow a conversation with Taylor comes up and he's like,
no, I hate that guy.
He's like, do you know Shawn? And I'm like, yeah, let me look him up. Pending friend request still. And I'm like, this guy's a jerk. Like, I don't like this guy at all.
I struggle with social media to this day. Like, people ask me to be friends and I'm like, well, are we friends? I don't know. I mean, to this day, I'm like, am I supposed to say yes to everybody? So I don't know. Everybody have a great day. Everybody have a great day. Agency Elephant, look at it. Take a long, hard look at it. One last question, as long as we're here and we're doing this. What is the tech stack? A CRM, an agency management system. What else belongs in the tech stack?
I mean, it depends on if you're talking
like Glovebox would then say some sort of service tech piece into that tech stack. But
correct.
What are the major components of tech stack? We can leave brand names out,
sure.
But a CRM,
sure.
An agency management system, AMS, and what?
Some sort of online form system.
Okay, online form system.
You're going to need a system that does workflows so that you have service and sales workflows so you can manage your days correctly.
Okay.
You're going to need something that nurtures your leads more effectively, whatever that is. One of the things that I feel is going to change the industry very quickly because all of the big corporations are doing this is conversation intelligence and being able to have a system that understands what's being said either on the phone or via email or text
and
be able to raise the flag and prompt things to happen to the agent. So it's not anything they send out to the customers, but it's telling the agent, hey,
move the
these
conversation
are the
this
objections you're hearing
this
all
is what's
the time.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to handle this. Okay. That I think is going to be a big shakeup.
Okay, but we just said a bunch of things. So CRM, everybody understands.
Yep.
Agency management system, everybody understands. What was the one that you said? Intake documents or something like that?
I'm a big on
like web forms. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So web forms to fill out, maybe pre-fill out things like fill out the web form and then it will pre-fill out my application.
Yep.
So it streamlines workflows in the agency. But this other stuff that you were referring to, does that not bounce back up to the CRM or it
could not. Your CRM may not handle that. Your CRM may not do it depending upon what you're doing.
Okay.
There's all-in-one inclusive systems, but in my opinion, outside of drip automation, having a workflow system that manages your processes is the biggest impact you can see your agency have without doing any automation.
So that could be a CRM. That could also be Process Street. It could be
a whiteboard.
Yeah,
it could be a whiteboard. If you are diligent enough.
Having a hardline process for workflows.
So a piece of technology in the tech stack that defines all the processes of the agency.
Correct.
And forces the agency to work within the process.
Correct.
You can change the process, but here's the process.
You can add things
Anything
to the
else that belongs on that tech stack? The service piece, like a Glovebox thing maybe, right?
Yeah.
Which is...
I think the industry really changed a lot with COVID. And I think the market, that's when Agency Elephant really picked up. When people were like, oh, we need to embrace technology. We can't do this face-to-face anymore. I think something that you're going to see pretty soon is a lot of mix between like FaceTime while being able to review a quote.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Shawn, you available right now? Let's hop on. Let's take a look at this together. Like, I think that technology it's not going anywhere. You can give that one-on-one approach. If you're licensed in 5 states, I can do that with someone 5 states away.
Yep,
and still build that relationship.
Totally.
So I think you're going to see the days of fax machines and Rolodexes are really, those agents got to make a decision.
But whatever you're adding to your tech stack, if you will, has to bring enough value for the work and effort you're putting into it. Because if you're having all of these different systems and processes, and you guys know this, and PGI in general in the big corporate world is understanding that if we are going to do these processes, they have to bring significant value to sink our effort, our energy, and our resources into. And that tech stack, like cool CRM, you have an agency management system. Maybe that's lower on the tech stack. Maybe we need a workflow first. Maybe we need something else. Like
interesting.
Looking at those things, saying that value that it brings to my office has to be significant enough and make a difference and change in the relation of what you're trading off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So honestly, CRMs, when I look at it, that is not high on my priority. Like a CRM is not high on my priority because it doesn't provide me value for the most part, because all that data is already stored horribly in one system. Why should I try and manage it in another system where I'm going to mess up? That isn't high on my priority.
Okay. We got to stop. It's been good, gentlemen. Yeah. Matthew Hahn, Brian Blair. Goodbye.
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 Thank you.
Premier Group Insurance is providing this podcast for informational uses only. This podcast should not be relied on as legal or medical advice. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Premier Group Insurance. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply any endorsement to them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by Premier Group Insurance employees, i.e. Shawn Michael Walker, are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of Premier Group Insurance. Copyright 2022. Premier Group Insurance, Inc., all rights reserved.